For centuries, a dominant narrative has basically told us that human history is a tragedy, a story of a perfect creation entirely ruined by a catastrophic mistake. But what if we've been reading the blueprint all wrong? What if human error isn't a tragic bug in the system, but actually a carefully designed feature of our growth? Today, we're going to explore the really compelling concept of the upward fall, a journey moving humanity away from endless condemnation and right toward a destiny of active co-creation. I want you to think about this for a second. What if humanity isn't some shattered statue of former virtue, permanently broken, and just sitting around waiting to be swept up? What if, instead, we're actually more like a maturing apprentice in a massive, open-ended workshop? When you shift your perspective from that shattered statue to the maturing apprentice, our greatest mistakes suddenly stop looking like dead-end tragedies. Instead, they completely transform into necessary, albeit pretty painful, stepping stones on the path to genuine maturity.
Okay, let's dive into this by looking at one of the most loaded words in human history: sin. When we looked into the sources, we found a massive linguistic and cultural misunderstanding. In the original Hebrew and New Testament scriptures, the term most frequently translated as sin actually just means missing the mark. Think about an archer learning to shoot. Missing the target isn't a sign of permanent terminal brokenness, right? It's just a developmental error. It's part of the learning curve. The institution of Christianity, the text notes, inadvertently sabotaged its own mission by obsessing over the error code rather than the architect's intent for our growth.
All right, moving into section 1, the courtroom versus the workshop.
So, how did we get so far off track? Well, the sources outline two drastically different ways to view the human condition. Over on the left, we have the courtroom model, which was largely championed by Augustine. This is a totally closed-loop system defined by original sin. In this view, humanity has this legal debt it can never ever repay, leading to what the author calls a really demoralizing pharmacy of control, where institutions exist simply to manage human depravity. But then, on the right, we see the much older workshop model, rooted in the early teachings of Irenaeus. Now this is an open-loop system. It posits that humans were deliberately created in an infant-like state. We weren't expected to be perfect right out of the gate, we were expected to grow through experience.
And this brilliantly illustrates that exact workshop concept. Irenaeus, writing way back in the 2nd century, used this incredibly intuitive metaphor. He wrote, "For as it is certainly in the power of a mother to give strong food to her infant, she does not do so, as the child is not yet able to receive more substantial nourishment. Just as a mom doesn't feed a newborn a ribeye steak, not because the baby's bad, but because they just aren't ready, the Creator didn't impart instant perfect wisdom to humanity. God created a process, not a finished product. The developmental errors we make are literally just the stumbling of a toddler trying to walk."
That brings us to section 2, escaping the divine nursery.
So how exactly do we interpret the most famous mistake in human history? If we aren't shattered statues, we kind of have to completely reframe the infamous story of the Garden of Eden. In the workshop model, the Garden of Eden wasn't the ultimate goal at all. It was a sheltered nursery. It was an environment perfectly designed for infancy, where an absence of conflict meant that nothing of real depth or utility could actually be learned. In this view, the fall wasn't some disastrous rebellion by an adult who should have known better. It was an essential, almost inevitable graduation from a pre-egoic, toddler-like state right into the high-friction reality of the real world. You can't learn to be a co-creator if you never leave the playpen.
Now, you might be wondering, what about the punishment? The whole being locked out thing? Well, the text offer a really fascinating reinterpretation of the flaming sword placed at the entrance of Eden. It clarifies that this sword wasn't a punitive, angry barrier meant to keep a bad child out in the cold. Rather, it actually operates as a protective firewall. It's a firewall of truth, specifically designed to ensure that humanity is purified and matured enough to handle the immense weight of existence and individual responsibility outside the nursery.
Okay, so out in the wilderness, how do we survive the friction? The source uses this absolutely fascinating modern analogy here, the heavenly Wi-Fi signal booster. Because humanity is constantly weighed down by the static of guilt and shame, we desperately need a signal to draw us back. This booster is grace. Grace acts as kinetic energy. It doesn't just sit there and manage sin. It re-templates the entire workshop. It reboots our corrupted operating system, and honestly, most importantly, it affirms what is inherently right within people, drawing humanity back to the architect through love, not condemnation.
Which leads us perfectly into section 3, stages of spiritual growth. What's really mind-blowing here is how this ancient theology maps perfectly onto modern science. Researchers like Lawrence Kohlberg and James Fowler literally mapped out human moral and spiritual development into stages. Look at this developmental staircase. We all start down in step 1, the nursery, operating on borrowed idealism. We basically follow the rules just to be a good boy or good girl. But to grow, we must enter step 2, the wilderness. This is a tough stage of critical reflection and sometimes the cynicism of survival, almost like a teenager's rebellious phase. We question the rules, we test our beliefs, and while it feels incredibly chaotic, this friction is absolutely crucial. Only by passing through the wilderness can we reach step 3, the workshop, achieving a conjunctive faith where universal principles are fully internalized. The Apostle Paul actually performs what the author calls a systems audit of this exact psychological transition. Paul famously swings between two huge extremes in his writings. On one side, he describes the body of death. This is our high-friction reality, the closed loop of shame, where our unregulated desires create just total disorder. But then, he pivots completely to the new creation, the restored blueprint where kinetic grace reopens the system. Paul isn't contradicting himself here. He's neutrally auditing the massive gap between the heavy friction of the wilderness and the high-potential reality of the workshop.
Let's move to and see how this builds practically by looking at a couple famous historical figures. Look at King David. He started out at stage 3 as a tribal hero, but he fell terribly into the unregulated desires of the wilderness. Yet, through the intense friction of his profound mistakes, he eventually graduated to stage 5 conjunctive faith. Or look at the Apostle Paul himself. He began at stage 4, enforcing strict legalistic order to the point of literal violence. But by the end of his life, he had graduated to stage 6, preaching that the law of love is the ultimate universal principle. The point is, they didn't start perfect. They had to evolve.
This brings us to a really beautiful visual metaphor mentioned in the text, kintsugi. This is the traditional Japanese art of repairing broken pottery with lacquer mixed with powdered gold. In the workshop of life, missing the mark doesn't shatter us into worthless pieces, it just cracks the pottery. Forgiveness and grace are the functional processes of repair here. And here is the real secret. The gold of grace actually makes the cracked pottery stronger, more resilient, and vastly more valuable than an untried, perfect original that has never faced the wilderness. All right, zooming out for section 4, a universal human pattern.
What's absolutely fascinating is that this upward fall isn't just an isolated religious idea. It is recognized globally. When you look at cross-cultural mythologies, they consistently identify leaving a perfect state as a prerequisite for wisdom. In the Sumerian epic of Gilgamesh, Enkidu eats human food, loses his wild innocence, but graduates to real wisdom. In Mayan lore, the gods miss the eyes of the first men so they can't see everything perfectly, forcing them to learn experiential truth. In Inuit myth, humanity actively chooses mortality over a utopian paralysis just so that there's room for growth. Across the globe, exile perfectly maps the transition from an unearned nursery right into an accountable wilderness.
We also see this super vividly in ancient Persian theology. In Zoroastrianism, the first human couple makes a mistake by believing a deception, losing their spiritual glory. But crucially, Zoroastrianism doesn't view humans as fallen, pathetic sinners. Not at all. Rather, they are vital participants in a cosmic struggle. We are soldiers of truth fighting against chaos. Yes, our mistakes definitely create isolation, but our overarching active purpose is to choose truth and restore the world.
I want to just pause for a second and let this incredibly powerful quote from Inuit mythology really land. Let there be light and let there be death, for without death there is no room for the young. It is just a stunning realization. Leaving the utopian paralysis of the nursery, fully embracing friction, limitation, and even mortality is the absolute prerequisite for all new life and all future growth. We have to leave the cradle if we are ever going to walk.
And finally, section 5, becoming co-creators. So, what does this all mean? What is the ultimate keystone goal of humanity's incredibly long journey? The source argues that to survive our own inventions in a highly interconnected global society, we absolutely must operationalize divine love. And this isn't just nice poetry, it's a functional requirement to prevent a complete systemic crash. Grace literally has to be kinetic, it must be in motion. Forgiveness and restoration cannot be hoarded just for those we personally deem deserving or the whole system clogs up and decays. It must be an outward reflection to all. We are designed to be conduits of this grace, not reservoirs. So the absolutely crucial point is this. The whole objective of our maturation is moving away from hard-coded obedience. In the nursery, sure, we needed external supervision, a tutor, a set of rules on stone tablets to keep us safe. But the ultimate goal of the workshop is autonomous alignment.
Through the intense friction of experience, we finally internalize the architect's logic. The law of love is no longer just some religious suggestion, it becomes the exact universal specification for a high-level civilization.
Which brings us to this profoundly beautiful summary thought from the text. We have not been cast away, we have simply been released from the cradle so that we may finally begin the sacred work of building the world. This perfectly ties together our entire hero's journey, doesn't it? We aren't tragic victims of a shattered past, we are master apprentices in training, actively repurposing the lumber of our past mistakes to build a much better future.
The upward fall isn't just some ancient history lesson, right? It's literally the exact blueprint of your own life. Every single time you miss the mark, you are handed the raw materials for spiritual maturity. So, looking at your own journey, your own mistakes, and your own incredible potential, are you ready to leave the nursery and build the world?
The canvas was blank. The garden was still. Before the first heartbeat, before the first will. You didn't paint us to hang on a wall, static and perfect, never to play ball. You breathed into clay, a beautiful soul, to learn through the breaking perfection. The goal, beauty isn't found in a statue's cold stone, but in wisdom that's harvested from mistakes that were sown. Oh, the tree of the knowledge, the bite falls high, the weight of the choice reaches for the sky. From the Garden of Eden to the hill of the tree, where forgiveness is reaching, a branch meant for me. The tree of life is waiting, branch by branch we grow. Through the pain of the journey, it's your love that we know. The broken are beautiful, the scars tell the truth of the pride of the aging and the fire of youth. Each mistake was a burden, the paralyzed deep, a weight in our hearts we endlessly weep. But the tears that we cried are the brush in your hand, painting grace on our soul for mistakes that were grand. At the tree of the crossroads at Calvary's wood, the bad is transformed into permanent good. Like a stone in the current, our guilt is cast wide to the depths of the ocean, carried out with the tide. The soul is restored, the paralysis ends, as the teacher and students become again friends. Oh, the tree of the knowledge, the bite falls high, the weight of the choice reaches for the sky. From the Garden of Eden to the hill of the tree, where forgiveness is reaching, a branch meant for me. The tree of life is waiting, branch by branch we grow. Through the pain of the journey, it's your love that we know. Like children who learn, we now walk through the door, knowing good, knowing evil, but fearing no more. With our hands in the dirt and our eyes on the sun, co-creators with you, our work has begun.